Hi everyone. For this presentation, I'm going to talk about the intriguing aspects of Alan Wood's work, the aspects of the text to me as a student and to the general context of pre-capitalist states and empires. Alan Wood was an American-born Canadian historian and political theorist. She reviews the historical materialist thought in her work "The Democracy Against Capitalism", in which she examines capitalism's economic and political elements. She argues that political is constantly embedded in the economy, and the economy can never be understood without reference to politics. Woods then discusses how the economic structure of capitalism is predicted on the exploitation of workers, which in turn causes classes conflict. She argues that this labor exploitation is the conflict's root cause. One aspect that is intriguing in Alan Wu's work titled "The Democracy Against Capitalism" is how she took a closer look at the connection that exists between capitalism's economic and political aspects. She emphasizes that despite the common misconception that capitalism is just an economic system, it is also a political system dependent on the state to preserve private property and keep the social order in place. Wu contends that the political dimensions of capitalism are equally as essential as the economic ones, and it is impossible to understand capitalism without first comprehending both facets. This battle between different social classes is what motivates the political components of capitalism, as the ruling class utilizes its authority to maintain its place. Another facet that makes Woods and her work intriguing is how Woods start by analyzing the work of Karl Marx. Karl Marx is sometimes regarded as the founding father of historical materialism. He proposed that a society's political and social superstructure may be determined by analyzing its economic foundation. Wood adds that although this may be true broadly, it is not always true in a particular meaning. Even while it may be true in a general sense, it is not always true. For example, she clarifies that economic considerations were not the driving force behind the American Revolution, which uh, political considerations were. The same may be said for the French Revolution, which were sparked by political issues, such as the reluctance of the king to make any changes. How she views the work of Max Webber, who claimed that the state is not only a superstructure of the economic foundation, but is also a different entity with its interests, is another is another significant and fascinating component of Alan Wood's work. Webner held the view that the state is an essential component of capitalism, and that its preponderance in required for preserving social order and safeguarding private property. Wood agrees with Webner and contends that the state is necessary for capitalism. The facet is fascinating since the author's work is given more credibility by the fact that it incorporates the work of another academic and their jobs. Wood examines the work of Antonio Gramsci, which argues that capitalism is not just a system of economics but also a system of politics. Her study becomes even more intriguing. This is because Antonio Gramsci saw capitalism as economic and political system. He believed that the reproduction of capitalism requires the existence of the state, and the governing class relies on the state to preserve its position of power. Wood agreed with Gramsci and believes that capitalism is a political and economic system, despite Gramsci's characterization of capitalism as only an economic system. Through the incorporation of Antonio's work, Wood argues that the political aspects of capitalism are crucial as economic aspects, and that we cannot understand capitalism without understanding both. The importance of understanding political system. Economic system is based on the exploitation of labor. The ruling class uses its power to maintain its position. And in Wood's theory, that can be applied to our life in several ways. This is essential to understand that the political system is based on capitalism. This means that the economic system is based on exploitation of labor, which creates class conflict. The ruling class uses its power to maintain its position, which can be seen in the way that the wealthy have more influence over the political system than the working class. To us, it may frustrate us who feel like our voice are not being heard. However, it is essential to remember that the political system is not static and that change is possible if enough people are willing to fight for it. Adopting Wood's theory may also help students have a better grasp of the role they play in the political system. Because students are citizens, they are granted the right to vote and have the potential to have an effect on how the country or the politics is running. On the other hand, it is also students' responsibility to participate in the political process and make sure people in change over them are aware of their points of view. In the event that this does not take place, the ruling class will continue to do all in its ability to maintain its power, and the status will be maintained. Wu argues that the political system of capitalism is the cause of many of the problems that exist in capitalism. For example, she argues that the political system of capitalism leads to economic inequality. This is because the free market system means that those with more capital can make more profit than those with less capital. This result is a situation where the wealthy get wealthier and the poor become poorer. Who Wood also argues that the political system of capitalism leads to environmental destructions. This is because the free market system means that companies are not required to consider the ecological impact of their activities. They are only need to take into account the financial bottom line. This leads to companies being more likely to pollute the environment to save money. To conclude, and according to Wood, it can be noted that the capitalism is not democratic and that the only way to make it so is to overthrow it. Wu argues that capitalism is based on the exploitation of labor, which is the source of inequality and poverty. He, she, argu- she also argues that capitalism is incompatible with democracy because it is concentrates power in the hands of a few capitalists. Wood had also incorporated the works of other scholars, which are some of the outstanding aspects of her work. Wood concludes that the only way to make capitalism democratic is to overthrow it and replace it with a system, and that is based on equality and democracy. Thank you for watching.